everything you want, but you can't have. Number one regret, no takebacks. The hole in your chest, that's payback. Payback, yeah, you better take that. You could call me selfish and critical, I could take the blame. Just like I could take a match and send it up in flames. Don't say I didn't want that. This might hurt, but that's just karma. Better take that. Call it payback. Don't say I didn't warn ya. Stay mad, I know you wanna. This might hurt, but that's just karma. That's just karma. Go and play the part, play the victim. Throw a pity party with your demons. Blaming everybody and you're screaming. But I'm the one bleeding. You're the one that's selfish and critical, you could take the blame. Just like I could take a match and send it up in flames. Don't say I didn't warn ya, this might hurt. That's just karma. Better take that. Call it payback. Don't say I didn't warn ya. Stay mad, I know you wanna. This might hurt, but that's just karma. That's just.
Hello everyone, Jingles here. For a few months I had been asked for an intensive Jing guide. I already understand that the majority of players on the global server are just getting to know some heroes and do not understand their mechanics. If you don't know me, I am a Jing player of more than 1,200 games in honor of kings, and since the day I started uploading videos, I play on both the Chinese server and the global server. And this is the first episode of the guide to learn to play Jing. In this first video, we will talk about how to become a better player in general in the game. We will review the skills and always keep an eye on the tips that can help in your gameplays and achieve being the Jing that you can be. The first thing we will do is meet the hero, and no, I'm not talking about lore. No, nothing like that. I'm talking about understanding what the hero does and doesn't do. Jing is one of the most mechanical heroes in honor of kings. He has great difficulty compared to other heroes in the jungle. But because of his skill kit, Jing is undoubtedly one of the best heroes to learn in the game, because he never leaves the meta. Jingi is always useful to play and can help you rank up easier than you think. In short, it is a main that does not expire. There is his advantage over the rest of the junglers and heroes with difficulty in the game. Jing can be very different in the hands of two different players, so categorizing it as a tier is practically impossible, because it is something that is measured in the ability of the players, not the hero himself. Similar case with Luna. Although Luna is affected by the meta, and I think that makes Jing superior to Luna. Jing can be played in most ranked games. You should try to stay gold first in 100% of the game, to have the ability to burst the ADC enemy and the mage. Having a positive result at the beginning is one of the biggest difficulties for Jing players, because it can be complex, especially at the beginning of the game. But most of the time, people choose her in fields that are not entirely favorable, and we will see that by understanding her abilities and in other small tips. You see this? That is the Jing copy. Jing can project a copy of herself. We activate it using Jing skills 1 and 2, allowing you to use one of the two skills again and allowing you to make combos. Jing's mirror will copy everything the original does, including basic attacks, abilities, and yes, also talents. the copy and the original Jing will each put a mark on the target. If the two marks are placed at the same time, we will have a damage bonus equivalent to 4% of the enemy's lost life, which is why Jing uninstalls your game at the end of him. Attention! Information of great value. Jing's passive ability has a 5-second cooldown. To restore skills 1 and 2 again. The moment we are inside the ultimate area, this time will be reduced to 2s. But then, you wonder how we can recognize the cooldown to maximize our damage or our survival. Knowing when our abilities will return is simple. You see this bar above Jing every time I use a skill of hers and I make both marks explode? That bar shows us the cooldown of our passive. If you pay attention to when you have passive, you will be able to maximize your damage at the time of your ultimate, or to execute different quick combos before level 4. These same combos with a full build can cause a one-shot. Combos like 1A, 1A, or 1A, 2, 1A. On the other hand, if you want to maximize your healing, the best combo maybe is 2A, 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 1, 2. Before we continue, Jing's passive will undergo a rework. This rework is already on the test server in the China region, with which a new skill will be added to your kit. This ability will allow Jing to swap places with her clone and can be stacked up to 3 times. We will bring more information on how to use it when the adjustment is global. For the last time, Jing's copy is untargetable, but it can grant vision and is normally used for that purpose. If you want to be a good Jing player, you must learn to control your clone so that you are always clear where they are and avoid ambushes. For this, I recommend that you begin to familiarize yourself with the movement of the copies that project our abilities. Learn their route and learn to combine them so that your copy can cover more territory, or I can finish a kill. The most important fact of all is that the further away the copy is from the original Jing, the greater the damage or healing effect, being able to reach 80% of the damage of the original Jing. Jing's first skill is a movement skill. This will be the skill with which we will start all Jing games, and eventually we will improve whenever it can be done. At the beginning of the game, we need to have a movement skill in case of invades and stuff. This little dash, it will slow down enemies and improve our next basic auto attack, which is why the Master Sword item always takes so much importance in Jing's build. Remember that our skill 1 is the one that provides the most damage of our entire arsenal and is also our easiest way to mobilize. That's why, in the middle of a fight, if you still have it or restart it through the passive, try to save it to finish off or run away. Something else is that the 1A1A combo of Jing is not affected by the speed reduction, not even by Charlotte. Being an instant damage skill, it is the combo with which we should start a fight because it is fast damage, and later we will use the last skill. But you need to know this information about Jing's first ability, which, although not written in the ability declaration, can affect your damage. First, if you want your first skill combo not to be affected by the attack speed reduction, it should be a linear hit where the displacement between us and our copy is not noticeable. So in the same attack car, our passive activates and explodes. Second, if we hit the enemy with our first skill, there will be a considerable difference in damage if we use it and hit our enemies with the tip of its gauge, unlike if we use the skill and hit with another part of the gauge. Jing's second ability is not as complex to understand as his first ability or his ultimate ability. The first thing that this ability gives us is a small movement speed, which we will lose after a second. Additionally, at the same time, Jing will spin, dealing damage and recovering 60 health points if he hits a single enemy. If there are more enemies, only 25% of that healing effect will be applied to them. Jing's second ability is an excellent ability to figure out where enemies are, and his small movement speed buff allows him to win on rotations. So use it continuously as you roam the battlefield. The strongest point of this skill is the healing ability it offers us. You can use it when there are enough enemies or minions, and avoid having to go to the base when you have low HP. Now let's find out Jing's ultimate ability. We will do it step by step. Don't skip the video because everything is necessary whether you believe it or not. The last skill is also the main skill of this hero. If we leave our finger on the skill, we see that the indicator appears as if it were a small dash that can be thrown in any direction. The moment we cast it, our Jing will disappear for 1 second. During that moment, we will be invulnerable to all types of damage or control. After this, Jing will appear again where the tip of this skill's gauge was. This dash can control enemies and take them to the end of the enemy's advance. If the enemy is at maximum range, the board will not move them. However, in both cases it will immobilize you for 1s. After these two animations, a circle will be created and we will have a copy on the opposite side of the original Jing that will copy everything we do as long as we are in the range that the vortex gives us. Inside the vortex, she creates 8 glass shards, which are launched from the edges of the skill. If Jing or her clone attacks, each glass shard closest to Jing will be launched towards the enemy, dealing 2% physical damage. Missing HP from the enemy, and Jing will gain damage reduction. And every 1.5 seconds, we can press the last skill button again, allowing us to exchange places with our copy. In which we change places, we will be healed. The healing we will obtain will be based according to the following table. In order to unlock this ability and not have to wait the 1.5 seconds cooldown it takes to change places again, we only need to cause damage. Any damage will allow us to use the ability again. Every time we cause damage inside the vortex, our last ability will be activated again, allowing us to exchange positions up to 22 times at level 3, 18 times at level 2, and approximately 12 to 15 as soon as we have learned the ability, obviously if we assume that all movements, what we do is correct, and there is no control effect or exaggerated damage that will force you to stop. Okay, is everything clear? Now let's go with the details you need to know about Jing's last ability so that you don't end up with a 0-8 score later. The first thing is to know that Jing's last skill can help us when we have our skills 1 and 2 on cooldown. Additionally, the cooldown of our passive will also be cancelled. This is important in case you run out of abilities in the middle of an attack. Use your ultimate to have them back. On the other hand, the immunity that this ability gives us is to stop practically everything, even fatal damage and aggressive stuns like Daji's second ability. Next, the moment we cast our last ability, the 8 glass shards will be deployed. These are thrown randomly and are usually on the battlefield for about 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, which can also be translated as a combo of 2 skills and auto attack. During the time we have fragments on the battlefield, Jing will gain a 20% damage reduction. But once Jing hands over all the shards, they won't come back to us and you'll lose that damage reduction. Attention! You must understand that there are 2 completely different movements that go hand in hand, which are the exchange of positions of the third skill. In the case of the third ability and how to change position with our clone, it is only causing damage. But in the case of the passive, it is not so easy like that. If you cast your skill and hit the enemy, and you only have one type of mark, no matter how much you fight, your skills will not come back. The only way is to restore if Jing hits and explodes the clone's mark, or vice versa. Now that we know the abilities and what they do, I will talk about 3 other things of great value to close the video. If you want to be a good player of Jing and the game in general, you must consider the following 3 factors, which doesn't seem to be a cause for concern, but has extreme value. To do this, I show you several heroes, and next to them with a star rating of their difficulty, where 3 is very difficult and 1 is the least. Now we are with Jing. His score is 3 stars. Now we present you one of the themes with which we will add 1 star to this degree of difficulty of the hero. The ping. Having a low ping is of utmost importance to play with this hero. I would say that it is somewhat unbearable to play with lag, because Jing will normally use 100% of his skill kit on his combos, and you need the lowest latency to play comfortably, and that your Jing at some point does not leave the map. Now we have another star, and this time we will put our device on it, possibly with it. You are watching this video. Your phone. If you want to play in honor of kings, you don't need to have a gaming phone, nor a phone that works at 120 FPS, where you can play with the best possible graphic settings. The game is very well optimized and can be played on different smartphones, but when playing, you should know that Jing is a hero that should be played with 60 FPS, because it makes the combos less complex. Also remember that Jing's last ability attracts our enemies, so sometimes it can mean getting caught in the middle of a fight, so there may be cases where your cell phone must consume more battery or overheat, trying to render and project the set of your skills and those of all enemies. Some KPL team coaches recommend playing with low graphics for the same reason, removing as much of the perhaps unnecessary efforts from smartphones as possible, leaving all their ability solely for running the game. The latter may be more focused on new regions than on players on the Chinese server. Finally, I advise you to find friends to play with. Honor of Kings is a very frenetic game, and usually the single queue in most games is depressing. You can mechanically learn how to use a hero better than anyone else, but you are trying to compete alone in a 5v5 game, and a good team can do it. Neutralize any good individual player. On the other hand, even if you become MVP playing with Jing in solo range, nothing guarantees that your entire team will die in a second, or on the contrary, they will give away kills where your capacity is already greatly reduced. Jing is a hero who feeds off the other heroes on her team. A good team can help Jing stand out, or worse, can turn her into a hyper race. This was the first episode of the guide to playing Jing. If you liked the video, like it, and comment if you have any questions. In the next chapter, we will talk about other topics, and we will begin to see combos and how to generate muscle memory.